wanted to do my predictions for what I think week one of seven's going to look like, and of course this is coming from testing and just general belief and insight, I guess. So there's a chance that this won't be exactly right. When you test quite in a bubble, and you see the good sides of a certain deck, and your testing group might run with it. But I think a lot would come to the same conclusions as well. I think my point I've been making on Twitter and places like that it's going to be an exciting meta if you like Sapphire, and of course there is a lot of Sapphire enjoyers out there. But I think the general gist of the meta will be focusing around Ruby Sapphire having a amount of decks to pick from, and Sapphire Steel having a amount of decks to pick from that are very good tier one, sort of decks, and then you're going to have decks that try and come in and counter it, and just decks that people also think are going to be good enough in the meta. But I think the reason why the Sapphire decks are going to take such strong standing is they just got a bunch of amazing cards, and it's not like they are just, oh, let's try that card out, this could be good. It's just objectively stat wise an amazing card. This Tamatoa is the prime example. I'm actually not saying I'm going less hyped on Belle. I think Belle is like my most excited and favoured card. But in a sense, she is just a tool, like an anti-aggro tool. She's quite high roll as well. Like you're not going to get her turn one every game. You're going to get her turn one less than you would a one drop, like a Merfolk or something like that, or like just a Chernobog. You're going to play her less because she's a two card combo. But she can just high roll and do some awesome things as well. So for me, she's a card that I basically wanted in the Sapphire Steel combo for so long. So I love her, and I think she's an amazing card. I love her. I don't know why I said that so strongly, but I did. But Tamato happy as a clam value wise. This brings so much. You can do so many things with like Ruby Sapphire. I know Ruby Sapphire items will be back because it's the start of a set. Ruby Sapphire items comes around again, and people also try the Oswald Sapphire Steel deck with the legendary Oswald. So I think those two will be back, and cards like this just enable it. And if not, they're just the value of these cards, being able to retrieve two items, especially if along the way you've been using Bell and Hiram to start popping items, is great. Playing a free dime, if you haven't done that in testing, is quite insane, like the amount of value that you get out of that. Making Tamatoa kind of an instant remove on spot, so I think Zeus goes up. I think people do have to react to the meta. I think the people who are reacting quite poorly to this and being upset is people who just I know it's going to be quite an oppressive meta by Sapphire. I understand that, but it's a lot of people who just basically don't want to play Sapphire cards. And they don't like that the meta has been dictated so heavily by Sapphire. But if you've been a Sapphire Steel enjoyer, like I think most of the people viewing have, you know that like the past few metas has been either dictated by Emerald, like during a lot of the green steel and green purple days, and maybe more just green steel, and then last set, like for the majority of the first half of the set and majority of the set, like Amethyst basically just dictated the entire meta. Like it was, you were going against decks that were like 40 card Amethyst decks. So I'm not that upset that Sapphire gets a bit of a place to shine as long as Ruby Sapphire is not too overwhelming, because I am biased to Sapphire Steel. But I think, of course, Sapphire Steel gets the card like Sapphire Coil, so I think that they're going to find room for that, and they're going to find ways to play that. I think that's bringing in, as I mentioned, the Oswald and the Maurice's Workshop type decks, the item-based decks that will come back, because now you've got actually a fairly decent amount of dense items that are just good. Before you would have to you play your Porp Schools, you play maybe your Ice Blocks, you play your Force Spheres, you play your whatever items, Vitality Spheres, but a lot of them beyond that, you were starting to get less dense on like good items. So people always want to give item builds a go again. So I think we'll definitely be seeing that. I haven't actually seen this find a perfectly good home. And then I feel like if the hype was so real on this card, some are just playing it as a 2x. I feel like that's strange because the card is so oppressive, but like we're only playing it as a 2x now. So I don't know. I'm not the best at Ruby Sapphire deck building, but I'm seeing it. Yeah, I don't really know where it slots into a lot of these lists. I think, like I said, a lot of people want to go on the item-based build, so they're getting tested quite heavily. But if you just slotted this into like a standard CISO on ice, you're just generally giving your deck more value. I think you're just using CISO at a better rate, basically. So yeah, I'm a bit surprised by that people just slot it into CISO on ice and went with it from there. But Still, yeah, an amazing card that I think will surely have quite a big impact on the meta. So I think, yeah, going into set 7, what the week 1 will have the, just standard Ruby Sapphire lists that are gonna float around, like I'm gonna say standard, pretty much CC on Ice. And then you're gonna have these Ruby Sapphire like item-based ones that are just really heavy on items. They're gonna try utilize the new Scrooge card as well, the new Tamatoa. Playing Maurice's Workshop. That deck just always gets revived, like every set. I always see it revived. I think there'll be some mixture ones because DKP's list did so well, where they're not really sure on the identity because using Coil is not the best in that list because they don't even have Sisu. Using Tamatoa, this new Tamatoa, doesn't really make sense either because they play with such a limited amount of items. But I think they're going to try using the new Bell card. And people are going to keep that list around for a little bit longer than maybe it should be. Sapphire Steel, again, you're going to have the diehards that keep the Sapphire Steel wheel around. And yeah, you could slot in this Bell and you could slot in this Tamatoa, and I think you could get tons of value out of both of those cards in that list. So I think you're going to have those around. And then you're going to have a lot of people, like myself included, doing more Kiwi based builds, the lowest of the ground non ramp ones, where we're going to utilize this Bell card. And I think this Tamatoa card's got a lot of value as well there. Getting to that 6 ink is fairly awkward as well. But I think you can do it quite easily. It's only one more ink or 5, and he's quite a big bomb on the board, like I say. Being able to retrieve 2 items to get you more gas to keep going. So I think, yeah, loads of low to the ground decks that will keep utilizing this. I think what was his Artabax's list was like a really good example of trying to utilize this card to the best because it's such a powerful card. Yeah, and then I think maybe a couple more Sapphire Steel lists like that. Maybe they put a lot of ally stuff in. I know a lot of people are quite excited about that. So I think we're gonna have these bunch of these variations on Ruby Sapphire, Sapphire Steel. I think on top of that though, this is a card that's been always quite fun in testing. We made a list, me and Ali did, and played it, and it was a very pure aggro list. Like you had a bit of disruption in there. You had like a 2-cost Ursula. I think there was some cards that there was like Gazelle that gave things evasive. I'm sure this is a massive problem for Ruby Sapphire because um, you can just go wide with like a bunch of 1 drops and they don't really care because you're going to probably win by the time they get to Sisu anyway. I think as well for deck building purposes, this is great for casual beginners, anyone really. I think this card has a lot of depth because you can just put this card into a deck and then build around it. You could make basically what I'd call a pile deck. When you play this character, you may return up to. You just basically need to put some good 2 drops in there, 2 and 1 cost. Sorry, so like Merfolk's Daisies, Lilo, or you could probably I've seen people playing Lilo, but you anything in this color combo that you can fit in there that fits an aggressive playstyle just works. So I'm quite enjoying that card. I think yeah, you could just basically grab 4x of these. Pile decks are pretty cool like this. You could just grab 4 copies of these and then look at your bulk box, look at what's in the pile of your bulk boxes and just build something from that. I think that's definitely going to be around. And then we're still going to have the diehards for all the other deck lists. Purple Steel. I can't imagine. As much as Aber still gets doomed this set, I can't imagine it's gonna go away instantly. It's gonna probably take a little bit of time as they really didn't get anything, and I don't know how they compete with a lot of stuff. But as I mentioned about the Tamatoa, that's like the biggest Zeus target. You've got Shark now. You've got like a ton of Zeus tiles. They've written a ton of cards that are amazingly powerful, but they all die to Zeus. And Amber still uses Zeus the best of any deck in the format in the game. Sorry. So I don't think Amber still dies. I think they just didn't get any new toys. But a control Amber Steel deck I think could still shine quite brightly. Um, and yeah, they can still use all the steel package, the Amber amazing cards they've already got. So I think that deck doesn't die at all. And I think Purple Steel is also one as well that people go to as a. I'm pretty sure I can fit every answer they need in the meta into it. Like even they get to sing Zeus from a Fox or whatever. They can go 3 wide early on. They've got all the purple 1 drops. So yeah, I think that deck as well. Outside of that, I can't really see any other decks hitting that week 1 um, excitement. I haven't seen like RP didn't really get much. They've got this new Queen card that looks kind of fun, and I've seen that in testing. It looks alright, but I don't think they got really anything exciting. But yeah, I still think that's a fair. I mean, in terms of a meta, that's fairly healthy. It might not be people exactly what people want because they're so dominated by Sapphire, but I think it will be yeah a bunch of Ruby Sapphire decks, a bunch of Sapphire Steel decks. You're gonna have these aggro-based decks that people are going to enjoy building. And then you're going to have the diehards who don't want their color combo to to die out. Like the Amber Steel is definitely, I don't think it's going anywhere. Like people are very stuck on that, like full foiled, enchanted lists and stuff like that. And that's such a toolbox deck which can put a lot of answers in, especially traditional Steel Song. I think so. I'm pretty sure they'll adapt and put new cards in and try and attack the meta. And there's also nothing wrong with trying to keep your color combo alive for a set. I mean, that's pretty much all we do here on this channel with Sapphire Steel. So, I mean, no disrespect when I say that. That's like just a thing you want to do. Completely makes sense to me. But yeah, I think that's going to be the meta. The core of the meta is going to be Sapphires at the top doing a lot of things, and a lot of decks that want to try and counter what Sapphire are doing. The same way that last set we had purple basically at the top, and a lot of decks that were trying to play around or try to beat the purple decks. But yeah, that's sort of my takes on what's going to be happening week one.